Well, it's a pleasure to be here and speaking on behalf of the Chihuahuan Desert Research Institute. I first encountered the Institute, probably 25 years ago when on my first trip to Big Bend, as we started one of our research projects on the Ocotillo back then. And so it's been a delight to return and speak on behalf of the organization again. Now, this is a little bit different talk than I've given in the past because it is a firsthand personal encounter I had with a mountain lion. I'm not a mountain lion expert. I'm a biologist, so I know a lot about them, but most of what I know about them I've read. Little did I think that I would ever have a confrontation with one, and that's what this program is about. And I have 3 slides with some text on it, and I didn't want to read that to you, but I thought it was important that you know about that because during the encounter, I didn't have a camera with me, so I've had to fill in to try to explain it with pictures from friends who have loaned me their images. So with that, we'll start, and 3 slides with a little musical interlude. All right, I didn't want to read all that to you, but I thought it was important that you see that before I begin. So I call this encounter with a hungry mountain lion because I have no doubt that the mountain lion was seriously thinking about eating me. The good news is that I'm here tonight, so obviously he didn't eat me. I have all my limbs, so he didn't eat part of me. I did survive the encounter. I guess maybe that's the most important thing to know. Now, this is where it took place in southern Arizona. All of you know where Tucson is, of course. You may not know where the Babaquiveri Mountains are. Kit Peak, some of you might have gone up to Kit Peak because you can go into the observatory area and they have a small visitor center there. That would be why you would know the area. And so there's where the Babaquiveri Mountains are. Have anybody ever been there before? Oh, Kit Peak? Did you go to Kit Peak? No. It's a wonderful place to go in the summer. It's about 6,000 feet, so it's much more pleasant to be there than on the desert floor. And there's Babaquiveri Peak, 7,730 feet. You can climb that peak if you like. It can be dangerous. It is on the Tohono O'odham Indian Reservation as well, and you have to get special permits if you want to do that. There's Kit Peak. It's almost 7,000 feet in elevation, and I wanted to go there because we were doing a study on reptiles. I've been studying the relationship between elevation, temperature, and reptile diversity and activity. And so I got permission to go up the road about 3 hours before anybody else would. And that is part of the reason for the story. So there's Babaquiveri Peak, there's Kit Peak. That's the encounter site, a little over 4,000 feet, actually almost 5,000 feet. And I was there about 5 in the morning at first light and was ready to go hiking. I had dropped off my research compatriot in another canyon, so I didn't have any help. I was there alone. Now, what I did wrong, number 1, okay? And that is what I just referred to. I was hiking alone. Humans are great when we're together acting in concert. We're incredibly formidable. In fact, the most formidable creature on earth without question. But when we're alone, we're pretty vulnerable. We don't really have any claws, no fangs. We're kind of soft and mushy. We don't run very fast. And so we're very vulnerable alone. And this is the canyon. actually a photograph that I took just after the encounter because I knew that I would want to be telling the story at some point. And I was, that X is where, so I'm walking up the canyon, that X is where I saw the first wildlife species. And that was a black-tailed rattlesnake, so that was great because, you know, we got it recorded that we saw it there. And it was not a very friendly rattlesnake, but it was encouraging that within 5 minutes after I left my car, I actually ran into our first reptile of the day, or at least my first reptile of the day. Went up the canyon a little bit further. That C is as far as I got up the canyon that day. There was a coati. It was running around on the cliffs chasing lizards to eat. And I'd never seen a coati in the wild at that time. This is many years ago now. I'd never seen a coati in the wild, so I was very excited. I thought, wow, I've seen a black-tailed rattlesnake and a coati within 15 minutes. This is great. Coatis, you don't have coatis this far north, do you? Are they in the Davis Mountains? No, I don't think they are. So you'd have to go down into Mexico, Mexican border. But in southern Arizona, they're quite common in any of the mountain areas. Now, I see the coati, and I'm watching him run around on the rocks chasing lizards, and I hear a noise in the brush up the hill from me on the other side of the canyon. And as a naturalist, you think, oh, what's that? You know, another animal. I've seen the rattlesnake, the coati. What's this going to be? That's all I saw when I turned to look. Did you see that? Okay. That's all I saw. And I thought, well, it's an animal with a long tail, and it was pretty good size. And I thought, was that a mountain lion? I wasn't sure. I'd never seen one before in the wild, that's for sure. So I just saw this long tail with a black tip, and I went through my mind. I'm fairly familiar with the fauna of the area, and I thought, I'm pretty sure that was a mountain lion, but I have to be sure. As a naturalist, you just can't, oh, I saw a mountain lion because I saw a tail. You have to actually see it and maybe get I didn't have my camera, so I couldn't have taken a photograph, but yeah, you'd like to get close enough to it that there was no question what it was. So that was the question I asked. And then it did move like a cat. So I knew it was a feline, but what kind of feline? Let's take a look at some of the felines that could have been in that particular area. The bobcat, of course, has a short tail, very common. They're right around here in the Marfa area. But because of the short tail, I knew it wasn't a bobcat. In southern Arizona, they get the jaguarundi cat, which is actually expanding its range northward now in Arizona. And it's small, though. It's way smaller than what I saw, but it does have a long tail, but no black tip. And so I knew that it couldn't be a jaguarundi cat. What about an ocelot? They have been seen over the years in southern Arizona. So it was a possibility, but it has a spotted tail, and I didn't see a spotted tail. The jaguar has been seen in southern Arizona as well. It used to be in South Texas a little bit. And it has a spotted tail too, and thank God it wasn't a jaguar. They're bigger than mountain lions. So I was left with a mountain lion. And I'm running through this in my head. What could it be? And I said it had to be a mountain lion, but I didn't get a good look at it. Now, mountain lions are sometimes known as cougars. What do they call them in Texas? You call them mountain lions? Okay. In different places in Canada, they usually call them a cougar. In Florida, it's the panther. But they're all mountain lions, all the same things. Puma concolor is the scientific name. The most interesting thing about mountain lions is look at the range from the tip of South America throughout the entire continent of South America and then all the way up into the western North America and into Canada. There is no cat on earth of any species that has such an incredible range as the mountain lion. So a very adaptive creature, even though it is fairly large, and you might think that a lot of large animals are going to be in trouble these days, but mountain lions have hung on quite well throughout their range, whether it's South America or North America. A little bit of some facts about the cougar life cycle. I'll let you read those on your own, but the one I want to point out is the one in yellow where it says mothers often bring their offspring to kill sites so the youngsters will know what to hunt. So they'll bring their kittens to a deer kill site, or they may bring the deer back to the kittens. Kittens eat what they have been fed by their mother. And that's a very important thing, probably one of the reasons I'm here tonight, because I never have known a mountain lion, adult female mountain lion, that has brought a human for the kittens to feed on. So that's never happened. And I think that I'm very lucky that's never happened. The other thing I might point out is when the female reaches estrus again, if the cubs are still around and a male suitor comes by, the male will kill the cubs. So it's important that she drive them away after 1 or 2 years, make sure that they're not going to be susceptible to being killed by a new male in the territory. So, you got to show a cute picture. I mean, the reason I show you this is that young mountain lions have spots, all right? And they continue to have spots for their first many months. They get a little bit older, but those spots are very apparent. Helps them hide in the brush so they can't be seen by larger, more dangerous animals. I like this picture taken in West Texas, by the way. And that's a young mountain lion. You can still see the spots. So it would weigh about 80 pounds. It's probably not hanging around its mother anymore, but it's not very big either. And so it was buffaloed by these 2 coyotes that are much smaller even than that mountain lion. But the spots tells you the age of the cat, which became important as I evaluated what happened to me. So I had to confirm my observation. Okay, so I turn around and I follow that yellow trail up the hillside because I wanted to get another look. And I was under the mistaken impression at that time that any mountain lion, in fact, any predator, would flee from an approaching human because we are the most dangerous creature on earth. So I thought I could follow it and get another second look, a better look. So that's the path that I took. That was about where I saw the tail disappear in the brush. Okay, what I did wrong, number 2. I'm alone, and now I'm following a large, unidentified animal into the dense brush. This is not something an intelligent person would do, but I did it because I had to get another look. But it made me eligible for the Darwin Award. And I hadn't received many awards in my life at that time. And so awarded annually to the person whose stupidity is likely to result in their removal from the gene pool. So two mistakes, hiking alone and then trying to get a second look at this mountain lion. Now, I have a few things to say in my defense, that I wasn't as quite the idiot that you might think of me being at this time. At that time, there was only one recorded death of a mountain lion in the state that I'm from, California, which has mountain lions all through the entire state, even in Los Angeles County, not far from downtown Los Angeles. Everyone knows that wild animals are terrified of humans. After all, my first mountain lion, it did run away. It moved away from me. So logically, I thought I had the upper hand. I was excited. I'd never seen a mountain lion before, and the problem with excitement is that you lose all rational thought processes. Another issue. I just wanted to get a good glimpse of it. Besides, I had recalled seeing Randolph Scott in a movie kill a mountain lion with a stick. Mountain lion was trying to attack his son in the film. You remember Randolph Scott? Real macho guy on screen, and so I actually in my head, that movie's influenced us, I guess. I had in my head that, if Randolph Scott can kill a mountain lion with a stick, I don't have anything to worry about. So I am trying to follow it, but the hillside is too steep. In fact, I'm having to grab the branches of bushes to pull myself up, and I can see this is a fruitless endeavor. I'm just not going to be able to get up that hill. It's way too steep. And so I turned around and started coming down the hill. There was a problem with it, though. the hill was steep, and so instead of just slowly coming down the hill, I kind of loped down the hill, and a predator might have interpreted me running down the hill, running away from the mountain lion that was looking at me. I couldn't see him, but he obviously saw me. And so I think I gave the mountain lion the impression I was running away. And when you do that for a predator, the predator instinct kicks in and the mountain lion follows you. In fact, is running after you. So I get down to the bottom of the wash, I turn, and there's a mountain lion coming right down the hill, right for me. And, I take a big gasp, and the mountain lion stops about 20 feet from where I was. And my first reaction was, I thought, this is a really stupid mountain lion. I mean, we are the most dangerous predator in the world, and he's not even worried about me at all. And so my first reaction was kind of astonishment that he responded in that way. Now, you're laughing. I was scared to death. He's coming right there. So he stops, and I stop. Now, the only reason I stopped and I turned was because I was wondering what was coming through the brush. So I turned to look, and for the mountain lion, I guess that was the first thing I did correctly. I turned and faced the mountain lion. And remember now, I'm unfamiliar prey. So the mountain lion stops because I'm not running away anymore. He doesn't know, what dealing with a human is like. And he stops and he stares. And I'm staring at him and he's staring at me. I also discovered during this process that mountain lions never blink. Not when I was there. He never, I know they blinked, but he just stared at me and never took his eyes off my eyes the whole time. So there's me in the middle of the wash, 20 feet away, the mountain lion there at the very bottom of the hillside. Okay, finally I do something right, and as I mentioned, I turned and faced the mountain lion. I wish I could say I did it on purpose, but I really didn't. I just turned around and what's that? And I ended up facing it. And this will become one of the great lessons for all of us to remember if you ever encounter a mountain lion. And in this area, whenever you're in a mountainous terrain, there are mountain lions there. If there are deer, there are mountain lions. So it's interesting. I was a little bit frightened at that point, but not a lot. I was really more astonished that he was there. And so it's interesting the emotional upwellings you have during an encounter like this. Oh, there we go. So to scare the lion away, I wave my arms, I stamp my feet, I yell profanities at the mountain lion, just in case, maybe you heard it, I don't know. And I thought, I was sure that when I started doing those things, he would turn around and leave the area. Because I'm a human. They don't attack humans. Remember, I only had ever heard of one encounter at that time of a mountain lion. It's changed a lot since then. So I'm yelling, screaming, waving my hands, stomping my feet, kicking sand at it. It never blinked. It never took its eyes off my eyes. And after about 5 minutes of this, I started getting scared. Because at that time, I was starting to think, is he seriously thinking of attacking me for food? I do want to mention one thing. During this entire episode, not once did I cry or soil myself. Well, it's important to point that out. I respected my Homo sapiens. I stood well in front of the mountain lion. Now, this was something else I noticed in the first 5-10 minutes of this encounter. The mountain lion started waving his tail around like this. Now, when I was a kid, we had a pet cat, and the pet cat was looking at something in the bushes, and he was crouched, and his tail was going like this. And there was a bird at the bottom of the bush, and he was getting ready to pounce, and he was getting very excited. And my cat, when he got excited, moved his tail around, just like the mountain lion did. And that was the first time I really got scared. I started, whoa, this is not good. I was really starting to worry at that point when I saw that behavior. And then the eyes. I don't know. The intensity of felines when they're hunting something is amazing. I mean, and it's frightening too, because they're honed in on you like radar. And I don't think I'd ever had that experience before, something like that. When I play with my dog and we're playing rough and I look at my dog in the eyes, my dog looks away. Like, I didn't bite you that hard, you know. But the mountain lion never took his eyes off me, never. So the disbelief that he was ready to corner me turns into fear. And I must say, I've never been more frightened as I became after about 15 minutes of this face-off. And that's another thing that I learned about it, because I thought, I got to get out of this. So I started slowly backing up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 feet, maybe got another 10 feet, and then the lion jumps at me and closes that down to about 15 feet between me and this lion, intent. Now I feel quite confident saying intent on making me a prey species for him. And it could have been a her, by the way. I'm only seeing the face, not the hind end, so I'm not sure about that. So putting distance seemed to make me feel better at first, but when he jumped at me, I mean, that's when my knees got weak. Have you ever been so frightened that your knees get weak? I had never, since and before then, I'd never been that frightened, but you feel like your knees are so weak and they're wobbly, you feel like you're going to collapse, which is the one thing you don't want to do. And yet I was going through this phase of being really, really scared. My knees were weak, my knees were wobbling, and I felt like I was just going to collapse on the ground. Thank God I didn't do that. So I back up another 5 feet, he jumps at me again. He's always keeping that distance now down to about 15 feet. And it's just me looking at the mountain lion, and clearly what he was trying to do was to get me to turn and run. And had I done that, I am 100% sure that he would have been all over me. But I didn't do that, and I'm not sure why I didn't do that. I wanted to run, but I didn't. So there he is, he's staring at me, never growling, you know, nothing like that, in a semi-crouch maybe, and that tail. So I actually backed up 4 separate times, but I'm going to confine it to just 3 times for the sake of this program. And I back up again, he jumps at me again. And it's... you know, you feel like you're facing the end, and it was frightening. So he's there, he's staring, he's looking at me, he's not taking his eyes off me, and I realize I can't escape. Escape's not an option now, so it's kind of gets down to being him or me. But when I back up the final time, I back up, and there's Randolph Scott's stick. So the big branch, about twice the size of a baseball bat, and I looked down, and I said, there's something in it. He says, I want that weapon. I want that weapon. So I slowly bend down, grab the stick, pick it up, and a new feeling comes over me. Now I get mad, and I'm angry. And I start swinging the stick, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, come and get me, but I'm going to get one good lick in. And I'm swinging the stick, yelling at the top of my voice. I'm starting to get hoarse because this goes on for 45 minutes. I'm starting to get hoarse. I'm swinging the stick. But, well, let me show you something. Do you remember a long time ago when our ancestors first picked up a weapon to take on wild animals? And there's something that happened in my psyche when that happened that I felt like, as I look back on it, I felt like I was transported to a time when we were there. It was them or us, and humans discovered weapons and that they could be used to their advantage, and particularly in a social situation when your buddies all had weapons, that you could be very formidable. In fact, we became the most formidable predator on Earth using that strategy. So with that stick, I felt braver. I was starting to get angry now because it was going on so long, and I wanted it to end one way or the other. So I start backing up again. I get another 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet. Now I'm back to this talus, at the top of which was where I parked my car along the roadway. And he's not coming anymore. He didn't jump at me the final time. Was it because I had the stick? I don't know. Maybe I seemed more aggressive and formidable with the stick, and maybe my voice got lower. I don't know. In any event, I threw the stick at the mountain lion, turned and ran up the talus slope, got in my car, and I locked the door. I'm pretty sure mountain lions don't know how to open a car door. Maybe bears do, but I don't think mountain lions do. As I thought at the time. I got my notebook out. I started writing this in great detail. I spent an hour writing down what happened because I didn't want to forget it. I watched the mountain lion jump up on a rock right by the bottom of the wash, and I was a wreck, and he started washing his face. And then he went up a little bit further on a boulder and started washing his face again. And I was traumatized, and he was very relaxed. The last boulder. He seemed quite disinterested. He might glance at me, but he didn't stare at me anymore. So the experience was over. Thank God. And so then I started asking, why didn't the cougar attack me? And I mentioned one of the things before is we're unfamiliar prey. They've never eaten a human before. Their mother never brought a human in to feed the cubs. Maybe it was because with the stick I did feel more aggressive, seemed more aggressive. I was angry, so I was not so fearful at the moment. And maybe that was part of the reason. Humans stand tall. You know, when we stand up, our eye level's about that of a horse. And a horse is a hell of a lot bigger than we are. And mountain lion would think twice about attacking a horse, to say the least. They have done it, but horses are big animals. And so we look bigger than we are to a predator. And I think that might have helped me too. And as I said, humans are unfamiliar prey. Mountain lions usually feed on deer. Mule deer, white-tailed deer, doesn't really matter. I was surprised to learn later that they actually have attacked elk, and they have attacked and killed full-grown bull elks. Made me even more frightening when I read that. And bighorn sheep. This is in my backyard. This is the lawn that this guy eats. And when bighorn sheep come around our house, that's the one time we had a mountain lion in our backyard. The day before, there were 3 bighorn sheep feeding on the grass and in the area around our house. And then I saw a mountain lion, probably trailing them, waiting that he could get close enough to make a surprise attack. They also eat cottontail rabbits, ground squirrels when nothing else is available, and then, of course, hummingbirds. No, they don't eat hummingbirds. They don't eat hummingbirds. Just want to see if you're awake. Now, the other thing was the mountain lion was familiar with that area. He lived there, and he grew up there. It was an adult mountain lion, no spots. Undoubtedly, this mountain lion had seen people before. Maybe people in cars, but probably hikers before. A lot of people are up there at Kit Peak, and he's probably been in the picnic area and on the roads over time. So he was familiar with people, didn't feel too disturbed by them. But I'm sure the mountain lion had some kind of idea that about the time this was over, the scientists would start driving up the road to go to work. within 15 minutes. And I suspect that the possibility of cars starting to come up made him feel a little bit, well, maybe this isn't the day to kill a human. Well, we'll skip it for this day. So that might have been his familiarity with the area and the cars on the road, very, very close to where we were, might have also played a factor. What's interesting is that I became equally frightened when I got home and I started reading everything I could about mountain lions. And there were some interesting things that came up that scared me, I think, more than that day. I call it kind of some form of post-traumatic stress syndrome. I don't know. But in any event, I started reading about how the Spanish in California would capture live grizzly bears with being on horses with ropes, and they would pull them into the bull rings in California, and then they would have the grizzly bear fight the bull to the death. And more often than not, the grizzly bear would kill the bull. Okay, now I'm getting to mountain lions in a second. There's some drawings about how it might have happened. No photographs this is back in the late 18th century. So they started tying up the grizzly bears. And unbelievable. Anyway, now, in this book called The California Grizzly, written by a now deceased friend of mine, Lloyd Tevis, there were 2 times when they put a grizzly bear in a bull ring with a mountain lion. And in those 2 occasions, in one occasion, the grizzly bear killed the mountain lion, but in the other occasion, they both died of their wounds. So the mountain lion being much, much smaller, but much quicker, sharper claws, they both died of their wounds. And there was a third instance where some early explorers saw a grizzly bear crossing a stream on a log. And at the same time, a mountain lion was coming up the other side, and the mountain lion meets the grizzly bear in the middle of the log on the stream, and they start fighting. They both fall in the water and they drowned. So, grizzly bear wins one encounter, a tie in the second, and a tie in the third. Now, I know I can't kill a grizzly bear with a stick. I know that. And so for many weeks after this happened, before I started reading up on it, I thought, well, maybe I could have killed him with that stick. Yeah, maybe I could have done that. And then when I realized that would never happen, I got scared again. Because I realized that there was no way out for me. If he attacked, I was dead no matter what I did. A friend of mine, Dick Weaver, he has spent his life studying mountain lions in California, and he was the first one to write a lengthy paper on mountain lions in California. So he knew everything there was to know about them. His study included interviews with hunters who had been followed by mountain lions on the trail, and so he was as familiar about mountain lions as anybody. And when I told him the story, he said, "You're one lucky son of a bitch." Then I got scared again. When the guy who knew more about mountain lions than anybody told me that I shouldn't have gotten away with that, I was frightened one more time. Now, I share this firsthand experience with you. I'm not trying to scare people, never go out in the wild because there's mountain lions out there waiting for you. I suspect some of you have seen wild mountain lions in the wild, maybe not ready to attack you, maybe get a glimpse of them crossing a highway or something. They are out there. Again, the reason they don't attack humans more frequently is because we're unfamiliar prey. They're looking for deer and ground squirrels and rabbits sometimes when they're really desperate. They're not looking for humans. That being said, there are an increasing number of people who have felt threatened by mountain lions, as I've described to you this evening. It is an increasing, these encounters are increasing in frequency as we spread out into wild mountain lion territory, and the encounters are increasing. And so some things I want to tell you on what I think you should do should you ever encounter a mountain lion in the wild. What you can do. Never go hiking, never leave your home. If you do that, I guarantee you a mountain lion is not going to break into your house and kill you in your home. Of course, this isn't realistic, so let's look at real things you can do. Don't run, face the cougar. I did it by accident, but you want to do it on purpose. I guarantee you, because you're unfamiliar prey, it's going to cause the mountain lion to pause. He's going to stop and rethink what he's doing and if it's worth a risk of tackling something he's never done before. The other thing is make a lot of sounds. I did make a lot of sounds, and he didn't attack me. Maybe it was because of the sounds. I don't know. But, you know, we have the greatest array of vocalizations of any creature on earth. So use your voice, you know, all kind, high tones, low tones, shout, spit, you know, make a lot of vocalizations, because again, the mountain lion would have never encountered something like that in the wild. And so you want to get him to pause and rethink what he or she's doing. And we already talked about backing up very slowly. You don't want to elicit that predator response on the part of the mountain lion. And if you're backing up slowly, facing the mountain lion all the time, in my case, it seemed to work. So, and other people I've talked to recommend that too. Put some distance, but slowly and back up. Never turn your back on the mountain lion. And then pick up a big stick, rock, whatever you can get your hands on. You know, you bring out that caveman instinct in you that goes back a long time, because I think that it will make you look more formidable. And at least in my case, it seemed to be a factor in the mountain lion not attacking. Is the mountain lion detects the weapon, and you want to have it available. So if you can get a big stick or a big rock, do whatever you can. Throw the rock at the mountain lion. All of that could be of great help. And then the last thing, where it's permitted, if you're going to hike alone, hike with a dog. Now, you don't want to hike with a little dog. No foo-foo dogs here. Okay, no food. And the bigger the dog, the better, as you see in this picture. No mountain lion's going to attack that girl. So hike with a dog. So those are the things you should do. Summarize it, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have about my encounter at this time. And I'd love to hear, if you've had an encounter yourself, I'd love to hear about it too. So anybody? Yes, over here.
Did you go find out where Randolph Scott's buried and go thank him?
No. I tried to find the clip that I saw so I could show it to you tonight. Beating it to death, and I wanted to show it to you, but I couldn't pinpoint the movie that he made. He made, I think, 80 films, and I couldn't pinpoint he made at least 2 in West Texas, by the way. I couldn't pinpoint the film that he did that in. So, and I will continue to search for it, because I'd love to show it to you. I mean, he was angry, and he just dispatched that cougar in no time at all. Yes, back there.
Do you think the age of the mountain lion made any difference? Like maybe it was young and not so sure if it was
That's a good point. The question is, might the age of the mountain lion make a difference? Sure, but it wasn't a young mountain lion. It had no spotting whatsoever. And I would say it weighed, I'm guessing, about 120 pounds, if I had to guess. And if the mountain lion was injured, wounded, or an older mountain lion that was having trouble catching food, then the mountain lion might turn to a secondary food source, and maybe a human. All the attacks that I have read about, and I've read about every one of them now, have all been fairly young mountain lions in reasonably good health. So it's not like they're wounded and can't catch food anymore. They're in their prime, looking for something else in its prime. Yes, yes, right here. Yes, sir.
you mentioned
throwing a rock or stones at them? Did that cross your mind when you were doing that?
Yeah, I would have. I was in a sandy wash, and it was coarse sand, but there were no rocks in it as I backed up. And the question might be, if you picked up a rock and you threw it and you hit the mountain lion in the face with it, would he get mad and come for you, or would he turn around and run? I think I would rather. As I look back in hindsight, if I had a rock, I would have thrown it at him and I would have tried to hit him. Generally, you would expect the predator would think twice about going after this prey if it can shoot out projectiles, you know. So anything novel like that the mountain lion would never have encountered before could be effective. Not guaranteeing it, but it could be. Yes, right here.
In all your research following this incident, what did you come up with as far as any consensus regarding pepper spray, number one? Number two, like a air horn, noise horn or something? And number three, what about if you have to be armed with a sidearm, firing off a round in the ground or something just to make a hell of a noise?
I have all those things in my car. Now, the predator spray, bear spray, I was close enough that I could have easily hit him in the face, and I think that would have worked. Because that's really irritating the eyes, and the last thing a predator wants to do with pepper spray in his eyes is get in a fight with anything. But I didn't have it at that time. It's readily available. You can buy it online. Sporting goods stores all have it. The horn, I have too, and those horns are really loud. And my guess would be that it would be an effective deterrent to a mountain lion. There are two accounts of pepper spray being effective. At least the mountain lion didn't attack and it went away. The horns, I couldn't find anything in the literature on horns. I've talked to people some hunters I know who've used horns, and one of them says, oh yeah, I used it and it scared away a bear or something. It would be worth trying. And I did have a backpack, as a lot of people do when they're hiking, so you could carry almost anything. And after that, I bought a pistol that I carried with me for 3 or 4 years after that.
What caliber?
38. Do you think that would? I think it would have worked. But yeah, but I was scared, and I thought, if I'm going to go hiking, because a lot of times I do hike alone even today, and I would have shot it in a heartbeat. If I turned back the clock and it was in that situation, I would have tried a couple warning shots, like you say, shoot it in the sand in front of it, in the air, something like that. But if it didn't work and it continued, I would have shot the mountain lion. And there's a lot of accounts of hunters. They weren't out. They were deer hunting. They weren't mountain lion hunting. But in California, there were 2 accounts of deer hunters shooting a mountain lion because it was following them, and it was getting really close, and they got scared. And they felt they had to do it. And so they, even though at that time mountain lions, you couldn't hunt mountain lions in California, the game wardens understood their fear and acknowledged that could happen, and they did the right thing. Yes, over here.
How many people a year are killed by mountain lions in the United States?
Right now, it's running about 2 a year in North America, including Canada. Yeah, very small. And when it does happen, it's on the news. You'll be guaranteed of that. And so we kind of get the impression, or when there's close encounters, it's on the news. And one of the reasons I didn't talk about it for many years was this was a rare event. I've been out in the field every day of my life, almost for my entire life, and it's only happened once. And in fact, I've never seen a mountain lion before or since. So it's not something I think we need to worry about, but I think carrying pepper spray is probably a smart thing to do if you're out in mountain lion territory and you're alone. That being said, one person was killed. They were riding mountain bikes on a trail, and the mountain lion attacked one of them and fought off the other guy, and he had to run and get help. And by the time he came back, the mountain lion had killed his friend and was feeding on his friend, by the way. Yes, back there.
Just first off, on that one, I remember that account of the mountain lion. They were riding bikes. Mountain lion took one of them off the bike
Yeah.
As the friend went to run to get help, the mountain lion went and attacked that guy, and that was the one that was actually killed, and the first one actually got away, because it was the running against causing the predatory instinct.
Yeah, my mistake. That's my recollection now that you're telling me again. Yeah.
On that, one of the things that gets me is we live out in like Glacier National Park, and we see we're hiking together, paying attention in situations they're aware, and we've got people running
Oh.
in the earphones, have no clue what's going on. Barely coming around the next corner, and a lot of times you have to go.
Yeah, in mountain lion territory, I don't think that's smart. And in fact, in the mountain lion newsletter, they're talking about the joggers with the earplugs. You can get really close. Yeah, I see that a lot now. Quick story. This is in Sabino Canyon recreation area outside of Tucson. I'm walking up the trail. A guy runs by me on the trail. He's got the earphones, and he's running the trail listening, and he steps on a rattlesnake. He was so, thinking about anything else. And I see this, and he steps on the rattlesnake. It doesn't get him. He's lucky. And he falls back. He's suddenly startled. But yeah, if you're on a trail and you're in a wilderness area, get rid of the earphones. Jeez. Thank you for bringing that up. I think that's important and good advice. Yes. Any other questions? Yes, over here. No, the mountain lion never made a sound. All those sounds you heard when you came in, that was a mountain lion purring. It's the only large cat known to purr. Your domestic cats purr too. Of course, they're big, so when they purr, it sounds more like they're growling. But a friend of mine has a pet mountain lion, and when you're petting it, it starts purring. But it's scary because it's much more resonant than a little house cat.
Tell us about
Well, I had a friend, he's a physician, and he lives in Palm Springs. Well, he's passed away now, but he lived in Palm Springs, and he had a pet mountain lion. He kept it in a large outdoor cage in his backyard. He had a permit from the city because he was able to show that the mountain lion was very tame, and the police chief came over and pet the mountain lion, and the mountain lion purred, so he got his permit. I'm sure it's more complicated than that. He also had to get a state fish and game permit too. Anyway, he could not take it outside the cage without a harness and a leash. And it was a very sweet mountain lion. It was a male, and it never showed any aggression that I ever saw. And so I wanted to take some pictures of a mountain lion in a wilderness setting. So we went out near Palm Springs in the mountains, and he took the harness off and the leash off, and it didn't run away because he fed it. They were buddies, And so I took some pictures of it, and then we got back in the car. It sat in the back seat, and then went back to his house. It was, I'd say his mountain lion was pretty big. It weighed about 160 pounds. Yeah, and they get bigger than that, but that's still pretty good size for a mountain lion. Maybe a little chubby for a mountain lion. I'm not sure, but pardon?
Was it neutered?
No. That's what he told me. Based on its behavior, I'd swear that it was, but he said he didn't neuter it, so I believed him. But male mountain lion, I would think would be cranky at best sometimes, but I never saw it. I probably saw it 2 or 3 times. But mountain lions, do you remember, I was telling some of you before, remember Marlin Perkins, Wild Kingdom? You remember as Marlin got older and couldn't wrestle the alligators anymore, he brought on a guy named Jim Fowler. You remember Jim? He was on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson a lot. And during my museum years, I invited him to speak, and he came and gave a program on wildlife, and it was an awful program. just horrible. And but at the end, he had brought a mountain lion with him. So he brought the mountain lion out on stage, and they sat there, and then all 250 people got to come up and pet the mountain lion. And so in that entire episode that lasted a good half hour, this mountain lion just, sat there and let people stroke him and scratch him, and it was a male, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't neutered, but I never really asked that. It's risky. I should have not allowed him to do that because, it just, somebody pinches him or something and he lets him have it, and then big liability issue. But it certainly made the night for everybody, and so it's they have wonderful fur. They're wonderful to touch. Yes?
Did the lion's demeanor change at all when you diminished your stature to pick up Randolph Scott's stick?
No. It's... I wish I could show you the clip. I did look for it. I want you to know that. Other questions? Yes. Well, thank you very much. I'll be happy to talk to you in the lobby.